special announcement for those in Perth, Western Australia. eCommerce Australia, in partnership with Retail Fest, are wanting to bring the e-commerce and retail community in Perth together for one night, March the 6th. We want to highlight local businesses and superstars within the Perth e-com and retail scene. It's free to come along, and food and drink will be provided. It will have an expert panel which will be announced in the coming weeks, but looking forward to seeing you all there in the fantastic city of Perth, one of my favourites. Australia, we're joined by another great retail and e-commerce champion, having been voted in the top 50 in e-commerce Australia previously, and working for some fantastic brands such as Mavi and Shona Joy over the last 10 years. So plenty to learn and a real authority in this e-commerce and retail space. Sarah Brown, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm looking forward to asking you a few hard-hitting questions. You're a guest that I've been trying to get on for a little while, but you've been a little bit elusive because there's been some a new addition to the family, and that makes complete sense. How has 2025 started for you?
2025 has been interesting. I just finished up working at Shona Joy at the end of last year. I had 5 amazing years there. It was great, but at the moment I'm trying to find how to balance being a mother and working at the same time. So right now I'm doing a bit of consulting here and there, and eventually towards the middle of the year looking at something permanent again once my son starts daycare.
Yeah, fantastic. How's the first year been for you? We were saying before we press record that sleep's been a little bit tough.
Yeah, my son, he's beautiful. Unfortunately, he's not a good sleeper, and he still wakes up multiple times a night. I was saying before that he woke up 6 times last night, but I'm used to it. I can function without a lot of sleep, thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're doing better than me. If that happened to me, I would be the worst person in the world. But you turned up looking amazing and smiling and happy, so I credit to you. I don't know how you do that.
Are you an 8-hour man? Like, do you need your 8 hours sleep, or how does it?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm pretty selfish like that. Try and get 8 hours sleep in a cool place. I've got the aircon going most of the night, and so yeah, I need a cool place to sleep in a good 8 hours. So, but you make do with what you get, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing else you can do, really. You just have to. There's nothing you can do besides get through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that are in a similar boat and understand what you're going through as well. So, and then you mentioned off the top that you just finished up with Shona Joy after 5 awesome years there, and a huge impact into that business as well. And how has the consulting kind of gig started for you? What, a couple of weeks in now?
Yeah, just only a few weeks in, and everything's kind of happened organically so far. It's literally just ex-colleagues and that sort of thing that have reached out to me, asked me questions, and it's ended up turning into consulting hours. It's not something I ever expected to do. Kind of just fell in my lap, and I'm really enjoying it. So if it's something that works well over the next few months, that's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it'll be different being brand side to now being consulting, and the conversations is potentially sort of flipped on its head a little bit. So it'll probably give you a good appreciation whether you go back into a brand side role or whether you continue down that consulting path.
Yeah, I have no idea yet, and we'll see. But I think when I do consult for someone, I want them to feel like I am part of their team. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can get that feeling straight away that you like to get your hands dirty and get in and really sort of work hard. So that's coming across on the podcast a couple of minutes in, but we obviously had a good chat before we press record as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you started from your career started from an admin assistant at Macquarie Bank to going through to Mavi, as I said, and then head of e-commerce and at Shona Joy. How did you get into e-commerce from being an admin assistant all those years ago?
To be honest, I kind of grew up in a more kind of strict first-generation immigrant family. And so my parents were kind of always like, you need to be a lawyer, or you need to be a banker, or you need to be, something like that. And I didn't think that fashion or, retail was something that you can make a career out of when I was younger. And so I kind of, even though that's kind of what I always felt like doing, I kind of steered myself away from it. And so I went into Macquarie Bank, and that was awesome. Lived the corporate life for 5 years. But while I was there, I took the leap and started studying. a Bachelor of Design, and part of that Bachelor of Design and Marketing course, I had to do an internship, which I did at Mavi, and that's into a full-time role. And I've been in e-commerce ever since.
Yeah, yeah. Good on you. And does that, having that sort of numbers background, does that help you in e-commerce? Have you found that's been a really useful skill? I would assume you would say yes, but
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think people don't realize how data driven a good e-commerce manager has to be. You need to know your numbers. You need to understand P&L. You need to be able to build a P&L. So definitely it's helped me. It's also really helped me, to be honest, be able to communicate with a lot of different types of people. In the corporate life, you have so many different people that you speak to, and that helped me do really well with working with different departments, which I also think is super important as an e-commerce manager. An online store touches everybody, touches the warehouse, it touches finance, it touches production, touches designers, and you need to be able to talk to any type of person and kind of get them on your side to help you make those dollars.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think you're spot on with that. It gives you that chance to, as you say, to talk to, whether it's going to a board meeting and talking numbers, or whether it's your team and giving them some context around what we need to do, being numbers driven, but also having that kind of rounded experience of being able to talk to anyone is a valuable asset. What makes a good e-commerce manager? I've got some strong views on the fact that I see a lot of job advertisements at the moment for an e-commerce manager, and I almost feel like they're looking for a unicorn with how much different kind of specialties they need to be all across. In your experience, what is the essence and what makes a good e-commerce manager?
I think the number one thing is an e-commerce manager needs to be a problem solver. Because if you're a problem solver, it doesn't matter exactly what your skill set is, you'll be able to figure out a way to get around it. Whether that's to find someone to help you, whether that's reading up on something, watching a video about something, or just testing things out. If you can problem solve, then you can probably be a pretty good e-commerce manager. That's
Yeah.
my number one thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, nice. And how big was the team at Shona Joy? Did you guys run quite lean in terms of headcount, or did you kind of outsource some areas, or what did the team look like?
When I started there, it was just one person basically, but we
You were
very
the
quickly
team.
grew. I was the team. I was everything, which a lot of smaller businesses that's still the case.
Yeah.
But we very quickly grew, and by the time I finished up in that role, it was a team, not including myself. It was a team of 8.
Team of 8.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we were saying, you were mentioning again before we started, around the kind of shift in Shona Joy from sort of being more wholesale to then more online over the past 5 years. As they seen that real switch to more D2C, was that when they had to start to strengthen up their team and that become a bigger priority for the business?
Yeah, because at first it was kind of you're doing not the bare, like, basically doing the bare minimum. You're getting the product up, you're getting the stock up, and you're getting the orders out. The marketing team would be looking after your content, and then as the e-commerce business grew, and not just the e-commerce in terms of sales, but like the SKUs as well. Like we had more and more product, and it wasn't efficient enough for me to be producing all these products, like actually getting products up. So the first person that we hired under me was a e-com assistant to actually create those products and get them up on our Shopify store. And then as we grew, we kind of layered more and more on our tech stack, and having that a more robust tech stack meant more people needed to be there to look at those things as well, because otherwise it'd just be a waste of money having those tech stacks if nobody's actually doing anything with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, and obviously with more orders and as business grew, you have to have more customer service and people as well. So that was half of our team.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the customer service is pretty important once you start making that shift, because it is a big mindset shift, isn't it? From going from kind of more wholesale focus with an e-commerce store to almost the opposite in being an e-commerce first with a wholesale channel as well. Like there's a real mindset shift that companies have to go through when it comes to shipping out bulk orders and indents, as opposed to shipping out kind of 1 orders, 2 orders, pick and pack. And that customer service is there's so much more work in the customer service when you're dealing with selling to many as opposed to selling to a few key suppliers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what you get a lot more margin when you're selling direct to consumer, but that margin gets eaten away by all these little things that you don't really think of sometimes, like paying customer service people, freight, individual packaging as opposed to packaging, 20, 30 items in one box. So it's all those little things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it seems like they pivoted sort of at the right time, and perhaps COVID sort of helped that as well. But how did they kind of start, and how did Shona Joy and how did you as a team really get to know the customers and understand the customers and build out that e-commerce component that's now so strong for them?
I think it kind of started off with product. I mean, we kind of always said, oh, we're a product first brand. And so we got to know our customer by seeing what they wanted to buy or what they were purchasing, what they were engaging with in socials, what were they clicking on in EDMs. So all of that helped us and helped the designers figure out what does a collection for Shona Joy look like a collection to the consumer, direct to the consumer. What does that look like as opposed to wholesale customer? Because a lot of businesses they have Iconic and David Jones and Maya, and they have such a stronghold on those businesses that their direction and their collections almost dictated by them. And I think one of the great things about going direct to consumer was that it actually gave our designers and Shona a lot more freedom and a lot more creative kind of control on what they actually wanted to design and what they wanted to put out in the world and give to their customer. But, I think testing is really important. You should always just test things and see if people like it. And I don't just mean product, but testing EDMs, testing posts, testing what your photo shoot looks like. Could be testing, reaching out to your your VIPs or people spending a lot of money. What do they want from you? And so it was very much training the customer service team to give that amazing service. And when they do speak to a VIP customer, start a conversation because they're a good person to learn from. We always had these special little notifications that if a VIP customer made a purchase, customer service rep would get an email to be notified. And they might just send a quick email, go, hey, we saw that you placed an order. If you need any assistance or anything like that, just reach out. So we always kind of try to keep it a very open conversation with our customers.
Thanks for listening to eCommerce Australia. A quick note to let you guys know I run my own e-commerce SEO agency in Melbourne, and we'd love to work with you and your brand in growing your organic traffic in 2025. We have a small but select and elite team. Click on the link in the show notes below to start your complimentary free audit. No obligation, just great advice. We'll give you a great overview and some directions for 2025 from a team who cares deeply about your success. Back to the show. Yeah, brilliant. I love that. That sounds incredibly impactful and something quite small. But if you're a VIP customer and you just get that more personalized service and communication, and as you say, they can sometimes leave the biggest clues as to what's doing well or any kind of issues that you may have with that customer journey. So it sounds like that you worked really closely with your customer service team to kind of help direct the strategy a little bit and help sort of improve that customer journey.
Yeah, 100%. We did things like try-on sessions where every month we'd go down to the showroom for an hour or two and we'd try on all the new products and silhouettes for that collection so that when someone does call or someone does email, somebody has tried on that item and knows how it fits. And we had all different body shapes and that sort of thing as well, which is super helpful. You can tell someone if you have a bigger bust or if you have bigger hips, you probably need to go up a size or down a size. So all of it helps, and all of it helps your return rate as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a tangible cost, reducing that refund or exchange or returns rate as well. And I know that's something that the travel industry does really well. I've got a good mate of mine, Cam Hunt, if he's listening, but they always send their travel consultants and do the actual trip so that they can come back and talk about it really to the nth degree and ensure that they've actually worn or they've been to where they're trying to sell the packages into. So it sounds like that's a very similar kind of take to what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. If you don't know your product, the customer can tell straight away. And it's just a waste of their time if they call for help and you can't help them.
Yeah, exactly. Over your 5 years in Shona Joy, what's been some of the biggest shifts, not specifically with that brand, but in e-commerce over the last 5 years, what are the things that you've really noticed evolve? And you've obviously grown quite a lot, that e-com store. So what were some of the strategies that you put in place to drive those results?
I mean, 5 years, e-commerce moves so quickly.
It's a long
Like in a year, things change, But 5 years, and that still includes COVID. So obviously, COVID was a massive thing, and that I think what COVID did was shift the consumer into a convenience consumer. So I feel like people used to go online, yes, for convenience, but also for they wanted more options or they wanted to price compare. And I think COVID shifted online spending to be a convenience mindset. And what I mean by that is, why people use Amazon Prime. Because they know that if they order something by 8 or like I think it's 10 a.m., they're going to get it on the same day. And why people spend so much money on Uber Eats, Deliveroo, all that kind of stuff. And I think how that's shifted e-commerce businesses, and maybe if I talk about fashion specifically, it's giving the people the option to choose what type of freight they want. I noticed that a lot of brands now do same-day delivery for metro areas, especially like whether they use Uber or Render. I think that's important. Click and collect is important. But people want things straight away. They either leave it to the last minute and now they're in a rush to get something, or they just don't want to wait and they just want it today, and it gives them that little kick, even if they have to spend an extra $10.
Yeah, exactly. And people are happy to spend on freight if you give them the option, they can have the slow freight for $0, or if it's express and there's a fee. Generally if they've got some options, that's great.
Yeah.
You were saying around Shona Joy being kind of a really in that sort of wedding scene and the bridal scene, so I can imagine there'd be a few last minute rushed orders coming through, or some panic buying at some stage. So you'd have to
Yeah.
have that communication pretty spot on for that.
Yeah, and we always made sure we have an amazing warehouse manager, and he always ensures that everything gets dispatched on time. And I love him; he was the best. Oh, is the best. He's still there. But yeah, we always made sure that we dispatched things on time and gave people what we said that we would be able to give them. I guess the other thing would be AI is massive, right? I feel like that's what everybody's talking about now, like especially in the past year in ecom. That's what people are talking about. And I kind of want to put this back on you. Like, what are your thoughts on AI and how that affects SEO specifically? Because I feel like a lot of people are saying, oh, we can just get ChatGPT to write us a category, an amazing category description for SEO. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've seen this. There's a really important update, which perhaps has gone under the radar a little bit in December. It was Google's core and a spam update. And we noticed that brands that had used AI for a lot of their blogs, they didn't get penalized, but they didn't really see much of an uplift. Like, you can create as much AI generated product pages, category pages, copy as you want, but at the moment, it doesn't seem to have much of an impact either way. Whereas if you put a lot of thought into your blogs and you're showing clear expertise, clear authority, that really resonated with the latest kind of updates, and we've seen a really big uptick in some of those businesses. So it's easy to can AI. I think definitely, as a business, we use it every day, but I still think you've got to make sure that, if you can use AI for your product description, so can every other competitor. So I think the better you get at prompting AI and the better you get, I think you've got to try and find the balance between quantity but also quality. So that's my take on it. It's here to stay. Like, as much as you like it or don't like it, I think it's only going to be more and more prevalent. But I do think the best businesses will have that authenticity and the experience. And this is where things like video, I think, really start to cut through now, because you probably can. You can't quite kind of fake a video yet showing you things. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Kind of.
Yeah, and I think what you say is so true, because I mean, the other thing, not just in the past 5 years, but I feel like what is really important for the next 5 years is content, and having good content, creative content, content that connects to your customer. Because I think I read that the disposable income for Australian households have dropped, like I think 8% in the past 2 years. So people obviously don't have as much money to spend. And people are down trading they're down trading. So instead of buying a $150 pair of jeans or $300 pair of jeans, they might be buying $60 pair of jeans from Cotton On. So how do you differentiate yourself, and what's your value proposition to that customer to like let go of that money if they can get an item that does the same job? Why do they want to buy from you? And I feel like that's content, that's connection, that's building a community and getting on with the right influencers, having video content, maybe even long tail video content, I feel like is becoming a bigger thing as well. Yeah, I think that's what you need to do and what you need to focus on in the next 5 years in order to stay relevant.
Yeah, spot on. That's such a good point. What do you mean by long tail video content?
That can be a lot of different things. It could be like a long branded video where you're actually trying to communicate to customers what your brand is and what, getting them to understand what the brand is, what you do well and why. And then there's also other things like live Instagram shopping or live, shopping hauls or unboxing, a lot of different things. I think with TikTok and especially TikTok Shop coming this year, you're going to see a lot more brands investing in that as well. Because I think people kind of miss having that connection. I think people want to, I personally rather watch somebody try on items or somebody talk through items than going onto a website. And that's the worst thing for me to say because that's what I do. I make beautiful websites and, customer friendly websites, but it's kind of boring. Websites have been around for a very long time. I kind of get bored browsing websites, but I like listening to people show me items. It looks more realistic than, it being on a beautiful model for every product. Yeah.
Yeah, you're spot on there. It's such a good point. It's so relevant, and it even sort of builds off nicely from that AI discussion we just had around, how do you really build that expertise, that experience, the authority and trust, which is the Google principle. And really, I think video is one way to really stand that out. There's so much more touch points. You can kind of, you can hear the person speak. You can kind of get a better feeling for the product as well.
Yeah.
It's a bit more engaging. And yeah, I think that live shopping is something that brands need to be ready for and could really do it quite well. It's a really good experience, and it's the best way of taking that sort of in-store experience to the e-commerce kind of platforms to be able to do that. So I don't think content is leveraged enough with e-commerce businesses because we're always a little bit more performance mindset and we're trying to get an ROI or a ROAS of every dollar. I had a really interesting podcast which will be live once this one goes live with Dave Levitt from Murmur, and he was talking about marketing mix modeling and attribution and ROAS being a myth and how to build that brand a little bit more, and I think video and what you just touched on is a really good way to build your brand and give people a reason why they should buy from you if it's a bit more expensive, because you can kind of get through a lot more of the longevity, the sustainability, all the different things that makes your product unique, as opposed to being price shopped from someone else. And that's the hard thing to do at the moment, as you said, with the economy and how things are.
Yeah, because I mean, how many people actually, because so many people shop on Instagram or they go directly onto a product page. They don't see your homepage or they're not browsing through your journals or your blogs so much. They're kind of just dropping onto your product page and then leaving. So I feel like it's so important that every single product page almost needs to tell the brand story. Because if somebody is only going to give you half a minute to a minute because they've seen this product on an influencer that they like, what do you want to tell them straight away? You want to be like on the product page, you want to say, this is the product. This is how it benefits you. This is what is important to us as a brand. This is how fast we can get it to you. And this is our returns policy. So you kind of need to have it all set out in a way that almost every page is like a beautiful landing page.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, that's a great point, because we can, probably guilty of it myself, of trying to make sure the homepage looks so good and so dialed in, yet all your advertising and all your products, that, as you say, they don't really come to your homepage. They come to your collections page or your product page, and yeah, you just got to make sure that you become the expert or the authority in that place. Even going back to that content piece around, how do you help the user? I think that's where we should start. Like, how do you help the user make a decision? Maybe this is for them, maybe it's not for them. But if you can go into as much detail as you can with video and content around that, then you're going to give them a good experience either way, and they're likely to convert if the product's right for them.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like fashion's actually a little bit more behind than other brands. Like I feel like appliances or suitcases and that sort of thing, they're very good at that one pager, where they have a video of somebody smashing a suitcase or something like that. They have exactly what the suitcase is made out of. They have the specifications, like the size of the suitcase, and then they have beautiful imagery. They say how long it'll take to get to you, and they'll say, what the warranty is. And you don't need to go to any other page. It's there. You've just been sold. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what fashion brands need to do better, because makeup is pretty good at that. Travel's pretty good at that. Yeah, fashion's a little bit behind, I think.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Speaking of that, so that's a nice little segue into brands that you follow, and who do you look to for sort of best practice when it comes to e-commerce? Obviously, if you just mentioned luggage, I would say July. There seems to be a brand that does pretty well in terms of that user journey, and we've had Zoe on the podcast, I think episode 4, so it was a long time ago. But they're obviously a brand doing well. But is there any brands that our listening audience can kind of look to for one part, or any part of that sort of e-commerce experience that they're doing particularly well?
I think, although not a very visually amazing website, but this is top of mind right now because I'm currently doing some renovation. But Appliances Online is very good at the one page, product page, like the one page thing, because you can see everything that you need in there. There's the imagery, there's the specifications. It'll tell you, it'll be delivered today, delivered tomorrow. And the amazing thing, by the way, I didn't even know that this happened, that you can select the delivery driver, to unbox your fridge for you and then put it
Nice.
into its slot and like plug it in. And I was like, this is amazing. That's what I did. And I was standing there carrying my son, and I just had this amazing man just open up the box. He's like, where would you like it? I'm like, just in that cavity over there. And he just plugged it into me. And I was like, this is great. I didn't have to do it myself. But that's all free. That's all part of the service. Yeah, I think so. They're really good in terms of what information you should have on a product page and what kind of service you should give the customer, that convenience mindset again. Then I think from a branding perspective, a community perspective, I think Glossier, which is a makeup brand from the US, is amazing at that. And they have built such a massive community that they'll tease new products and people just go crazy guessing
Really?
what it would be. Yeah, and guessing what it would be. And they even go as far as having like this loyalty program, it's like an app that you have. And they'll put it up like a little teaser, and they'll say, guess what it is. If you guess it correctly, it will give you, 50 loyalty points. So you have all these people guessing, and then you get these loyalty points, and then that can go towards your order when it actually launches. And they're also amazing at bundling. They're really good at gifts with purchase, which is, I just think, more interesting than a site-wide discount. Black Friday and Christmas time, everyone's heavily discounting, but they were doing interesting things like bundling their lip glosses together into like a bauble that you can buy and put on your Christmas tree. They even though they're a makeup brand, they even released like a candle, and they allowed you to buy like this chrome zip lighter, and it
Okay.
sold out instantly. Like everybody was looking for this lighter. Like, why are we buying this lighter from this makeup brand? It's because they're so good at this branding that you just want it, and they have this longest list of people waiting for it to come back. And in-store experience as well, they're really amazing at. So they, like retailers, you need to go to their stores, because I went to the one in the UK, and they don't have any product that you can actually take to counter and purchase. It's all tester products. So the entire massive retail stores just testing products. And when you're ready
Really?
and you know what you want, yeah, you just go to a service person who's in, cute pink overalls. They'll put your order in for you. And then you go to a waiting room and your makeup comes down on a conveyor belt with your names written on it in like a little pink bag. And it was just like the best experience. And they kind of try to translate that experience into online, into their socials and stuff. So I think they're amazing. So I'll definitely recommend people looking at what they're doing. And then
Outstanding. I've not heard of those. Have they got retail stores in Australia? I've heard paid by a tax or claimable by tax, a business trip to go to Glossier. You're going to mention a third one, did you?
yeah, I guess the third one, because I feel like being in the fashion industry, I need to call out a fashion brand. But Ulla Johnson, in I think the brand's from New York City, has a beautiful website in terms of look, like aesthetically, it's very pleasing. It's very nice, and I noticed that they're kind of doing new things all the time. So they're definitely A/B testing their website, and so from a look and feel perspective, very good. UX perspective as well, very good. But the other thing that they launched, I think it was last year or the year before, was Ulla Johnson Pre-Loved. And it's so smart. So customers can resell their items directly through Ulla Johnson's website. And what they do is you can either opt in to get 70% back in cash, or you can get 100% in credit. So they're kind of like getting people to like respend with them through the resale market. But it's
Okay.
really easy for customers to use, because you can go in, you can select the product that you purchase, and they'll automatically create that listing for you with their original product pictures at the beginning. And then you just have to upload a few pictures of the actual product yourself. And they also send out like a free shipping label as well for you once somebody purchases it. So in terms of convenience and how easy it is to use, it's amazing. And it's, driven I think it's driven a big community as well. I think right now there's like over 700 items listed there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And where do you purchase those secondhand items from? Is it back on? What was the name of the brand? Ula.
Johnson.
Yeah. So the secondhand items are on their website to purchase, or
It's kind of like a subdomain.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you sell and purchase on that subdomain website, and it's very beautiful, because I think a lot of brands want to go into the resale market. That's such another, talking about what's happened in the past 5 years. That's another big one, but they don't know how to do it in a branded way, and they've done very well at that. And the way that they sell it as well is, we want our pieces to last a lifetime and be handed down, and it's archival and that sort of thing. And when they launched it as well, Ulla Johnson herself, who's obviously the founder and designer, they launched it and got people into it by saying Ulla Johnson's opening up her wardrobe and selling her items. And so that kind of, was a hook for media. And then a lot of consumers jumped on wanting to see like what is Ulla Johnson selling? Like, what's in her wardrobe? And then it kind of started from there, and has continued from there.
Yeah. Nice. I'm just checking that I'm not going to get kicked out of here. I've got a couple more minutes. So actually, yeah, that's a really interesting point. I've got a brand called Authentified coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks. They're quite new, but they've rolled out a pilot program with Tacuba, and yeah, it's gone really well, and it sounds very similar to that. But yeah, it's a Shopify. And I think that's going to make a huge, huge splash in 2025. The founder's based here in South Melbourne, and really good guy, really good team.
Mm.
And so I think that reseller market is going to really be hot in the next couple of years, because it does touch on a lot of those points that I don't even know what the generation's called now. Is it Gen Z, or what? Who are the young ones? Is it Gen Z?
I think we're millennials. I'm assuming you're a millennial, and I think they changed the name, didn't they?
Have
They're
they?
called
I
like
have no
something
idea.
weird now. I don't know, but I just call them Gen Z.
Gen Z and whatever the old generations are,
Yeah.
the younger generations. It might be Alpha. Is it?
Well, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I should know, but I don't.
Yeah, the young kids of today, anyway, of which I'm going to include you in part of that. But I think they really care a lot about sustainability and I guess value,
Yeah.
because they can't afford a house these days. So at least if they get a good pair of jeans that last them for a few years.
Oh my God. It's so sad, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that reseller market, you know, take control of that resale journey for people who have purchased from you a first time, then it gives you a chance, it gives you more data on how long your product's lasting for. It gives you a chance to then be notified when someone is actually selling a coat that they bought last year, and then you can send them a voucher or something to sort of upgrade their wardrobe. And then, I think maybe it's dangerous for some shoppers, but you could start to look at, what the actual product cost you as a net cost in terms of how much you can resell it for. So therefore you can maybe spend a little bit more.
So you can put like a wish list up there as well. Like you can put items that you're looking for, and then is that how it works as well?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's got that functionality. It's more so if you buy a product and you wear it a few times and then you want to resell it, you can resell it through this app within a couple of minutes, similar to what you were saying. Loads up all the photos and all the information is there. Upload a couple of photos, and then once it's sold, then the brand can kind of get back in touch and say, hey, thanks for joining our sustainability efforts. We want, as you rightly pointed out, so it sounds quite similar. But I think that resale market is going to be quite topical in the next
What Ulla Johnson does as well is they kind of call it as they can try to source the item for you, which is cool. So there's a section on their website where you can request items or like items you've been looking for, and then once in a while they'll send an email out to their database saying, hey, like, these are the items that people are looking for, so that know that, and I think that's so smart, because you might be a person that's not thinking about selling an item, but then you get an email and it says, there's 20 people looking for this dress. You're like, well, I haven't worn that dress for 2 years. Like, why not make some money out of it? So I think that kind of thing is really smart. If you can get like a wish list or something for resell, I think that could work really well too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, I'm sure they've thought of that, but I think that's a great point around the, that whole kind of, it's just a massive industry that's ready for disruption, and it sounds like disruption's coming very, very quickly in 2025.
Yeah.
What's next for you in 2025 then? How do people get in touch? We appreciate all your insights today, and you've had a great 10 years in e-commerce, and as I said, being, voted in the top 50 in e-commerce. I'm sure now that you're consulting, or for the time being anyway, you'll be highly sought after. What sort of businesses would you work best with, and how do people get in touch with you?
Geez, you're kind of making me, I hadn't even thought about this. I would say I love really getting down to what your problem is and trying to figure out the best way and the most cost-efficient way in resolving that problem or that issue. I love working and helping businesses become more efficient, like operationally more efficient. And that's, I think, really important for e-commerce managers to do, because in a market like this where people don't have as much money and your sales might not be as big, you need to cut costs. You need to be a little bit smarter with how you're spending your money. You need to be smarter with your inventory and what you're actually putting your cash into. And so I think that's kind of the areas that I'd love to help businesses with. And I love merchandising and buying and making sure that you have the right product on the website at the right time as well. So that is also a different side I like to work with. And then there's tech, making sure that everything actually runs smoothly so that your team can focus on other things like being more creative and making videos and posting on socials and learning about AI or whatever it is that will help the business further along in the future.
Perfect. Yeah. And the best way to contact you, just via LinkedIn, I would imagine, or?
I think LinkedIn is probably the best way.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, look, thank you for joining us on such short hours of sleep overnight. Hopefully that can resolve itself, or you get a nap in or something at some point. But it's been a pleasure to get to know you, and thanks for sharing some great insights on the podcast.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me.
No problems.
See you. Okay.
Thank you.